When the stage lights went down, nobody could believe it. Elvis Presley was the idol of millions. But behind the curtain, he was battling something no one knew about, and nobody saw it coming. Las Vegas, 1977. The backstage corridors of Caesar's Palace were dark and silent, as always. But tonight was different. Elvis Presley's dressing room door remained closed, despite the music occasionally breaking through from outside. Inside, there was a man staring at himself in the mirror. But that man wasn't the Elvis millions knew. "I'll do it again," he whispered to himself. His voice trembled. He pressed his hands against the edge of the sink and lowered his head. Even breathing had become difficult. The weight he felt in his chest wasn't just physical. It was a burden he'd carried for years. Fame, expectations, image, and everything he'd lost. A knock on the door, once, twice. Then it stopped. Elvis lifted his head and looked in the mirror. All he could see now were the dark circles under his eyes. Those powerful, charismatic looks were gone. In their place, exhaustion, a depleted soul. "Elvis, you've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes. In just 10 minutes, thousands of people would applaud him, scream his name, see him as a god. But he was just a man. Fragile, alone, lost. But what he didn't know yet? And this is where everything changed. When Elvis closed his eyes, he always went to the same place. Tupelo, Mississippi, that small wooden house, his mother's warm embrace, the moments when his father touched the guitar, and his twin brother Jesse's grave. Why did he die and I lived? He asked himself constantly. This question never left him his entire life. Maybe that's why he gave everything when he stepped on stage. Maybe he was living for both of them, carrying two souls on his shoulders. But now, those shoulders had collapsed. He stood up in the dressing room. He put on the white jumpsuit, decorated with stones. He touched the fabric with his fingers. This outfit wasn't just a costume, it was armor. The mask that allowed him to become Elvis Presley when he stepped on stage. "Are you ready?" his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, asked, opening the door slightly. Elvis didn't even look at him. "I'm always ready," he said. But the emptiness in his voice gave away the truth. The colonel shut the door. Elvis stood before the mirror once more. "I forgot who I am. Does the stage create me? Or do I create the stage?" But you haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. The corridor was long. With each step, his legs grew heavier. Breathing became harder. But on his face, that smile remained. That legendary Elvis smile. The crew backstage respectfully made way for him. No one made eye contact. Everyone knew, but no one spoke. "Elvis, we're waiting on stage!" Elvis stopped. For a moment, he thought about turning back and leaving. But then, he heard it. That sound, the crowd sound. Thousands of people screaming his name. "Elvis! Elvis! Elvis!" Hearing that sound, this is what he lived for. This moment. But at the same time, this moment was killing him. He stepped onto the stage. The lights came on. The crowd erupted. And Elvis Presley became the king once more. Wait a minute. Don't miss this detail. But here's the shocking part. He started singing "Love Me Tender." His voice still carried that magic. But this time, there was a tremor. A small, barely noticeable tremor. But Elvis noticed. He sang with his eyes closed. Because he couldn't look at the crowd anymore. He didn't want to see the expectation in their eyes. They saw a god. But he was just a wounded man. When the song ended, applause erupted. But Elvis froze in the center of the stage. A voice echoed in his head. "Are you doing this for the last time?" No, it can't be. This was his life. Without the stage, who would he be? He picked up the microphone. "I'm honored to be here for all of you, but sometimes a person feels lost. You find me. Every night. You find me." The crowd fell silent. This wasn't the Elvis they expected. This was fragile, real, the real Elvis. At that moment, the door knocked. No, not a door, but in his mind, a door closed, and another door opened. A door to the past. Sun Records, Memphis, Tennessee. 19-year-old Elvis Presley stood in the studio, his trembling hands touching the guitar. "Play, son," said Sam Phillips, the producer. "Play what you feel." And Elvis played. That's all right. But he didn't just play it. He poured his soul into that song, in every note, every word. His mother's embrace, his father's gaze, his brother's absence. When the song ended, Sam Phillips smiled. "Son, the world needs to see you." But Elvis was scared. "What if they don't like me?" "They'll love you because you're real, and reality is more powerful than anything." That day, a legend was born. But at the same time, a man began to disappear. When the phone rang, his life would change. What you've seen so far is nothing. The Ed Sullivan Show, first television performance. When Elvis stepped on stage, the cameras only showed his upper body, because his hip movements were considered immoral. Elvis sat in the corner of the backstage area, head in his hands. Do they love me for who I am, or for who they want me to be? Priscilla, still a young girl then, approached him. "Who are you, Elvis?" Elvis looked at her. In his eyes, a lost child. "I don't know. When I go on stage, I'm one person. When I come down, someone else. Which one is real?" Priscilla smiled. "Maybe both are real. Maybe you have to bring them together." But Elvis never could. And this slowly consumed him. That sparkle in Elvis Presley's eyes. His manager, Colonel Tom Parker, the man who took Elvis's career to the top, but also the man who imprisoned him. "Elvis, we're not doing a European tour," the colonel said one day. "Why? My fans are waiting for me there." "Because I say so. You're my property, Elvis, and I will protect you." Property. Elvis never forgot that word. He wasn't a person anymore. He was a product, sellable, marketable, controllable. But what hurt most was that he'd allowed it. Because he was afraid. Fear of being alone, fear of failure, and worst of all, fear that no one would love his real self. As security approached, "You won't believe this," Elvis returned to the stage, both in the past and the present. He began singing "Can't Help Falling in Love." Tears gathered at the corners of his eyes. Wise men say, "Only fools rush in." The crowd sang with him. But Elvis heard only one person, his mother, Gladys Presley, the woman who loved him most, who understood him best. "I made a promise to my mother," he whispered in the center of the stage. No one heard. "I promised her I'd make everyone happy. But I forgot to make myself happy." The song ended. Applause, screams. But Elvis felt a great silence inside. When the door opened, what they saw, the concert ended. When Elvis returned backstage, he collapsed to the floor, a sharp pain in his chest. He couldn't breathe. "Elvis!" his assistant screamed. "Doctor! Get a doctor now!" But Elvis raised his hand. "No, I'm just a little tired." It wasn't tiredness. He was exhausted. His body, his soul, everything. He closed his eyes, and in that moment, his entire life flashed before his eyes. The first stage performance, the first record, his last conversation with his mother, his marriage to Priscilla, his daughter Lisa Marie's birth, and then emptiness. A big, dark emptiness. What am I doing here? Why am I still here? He didn't answer, because he didn't know the answer. When he read that document, you haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. When Elvis was alone in his dressing room, he pulled out an old letter from a drawer. His mother's last letter, from 1958, the year she died. My dearest Elvis, you're changing the world, but don't lose yourself. Don't let the stage make you forget who you are. You're a human being first, a singer second. Never forget that. I love you forever, your mother, Gladys." Elvis brought the letter to his lips. Tears streamed down his cheeks. "I disappointed you, Mama. I lost myself. And now, there's no going back." But what he didn't know yet. Colonel Tom Parker entered Elvis's room. He held a folder. "Elvis, I need you to see this." Elvis took the folder. It was a health report. Doctors had detected serious heart problems during his last checkup, and they recommended Elvis quit the stage. "No," Elvis said, throwing the folder to the floor. "Quitting the stage means dying. The stage is my life." "Elvis, you're going to die." "Then I'll die, but I'll die on stage, the way people will remember me." The colonel fell silent, because he knew. Stopping Elvis Presley was impossible. He was a burning flame, and flames burn until they're extinguished. The phone rang. He answered. He froze. This is where everything changed. Elvis returned to Graceland at midnight. His daughter, Lisa Marie, was asleep. He quietly entered her room. He stroked her hair. "I should have been a better father to you, but trying to make the world happy, I neglected you. Forgive me." Lisa Marie smiled in her sleep. Elvis gave her one last kiss and left the room. He sat at his piano. He took a deep breath before touching the keys, and he began to play. Not any song, just notes. Random notes. The expression of emotions. If I die now, how will people remember me? The king. Elvis the Pelvis. The king. But he was just a man, and he wanted to be remembered for just that. Everyone had learned the truth, but the real shock. Elvis Presley was found in the bathroom at Graceland. His heart had stopped. He was 42 years old. The world was shocked. Millions mourned. Newspapers ran with headlines, "The king is dead." But the truth is, Elvis Presley had died years ago. The stage lights kept him alive. The applause kept him standing. But inside, he'd been lost for a long time. Today, Elvis Presley still lives, in his music, in his movies, in memories. But who really knows the real Elvis? That charismatic, smiling man, or the fragile, lonely soul behind the curtain? Maybe both are real. Maybe Elvis taught us the greatest lesson. The world doesn't love you for who you are, but for who they want you to be. And that is the most painful truth. The gates of Graceland. Thousands of fans still visit. They leave photographs. They write letters. "Elvis, we love you." But Elvis isn't there anymore. He disappeared the first day he stepped on stage, and he never came back. When they thought it was over. The voice on the phone was familiar, but Elvis never died. He just left the stage.